In this lecture, I'm going to discuss some symbolization conventions. So the first convention involves how commas work. As we know, English contains many grammatically ambiguous sentences, such as, I shot an elephant in my pajamas. That sentence is ambiguous because it's ambiguous which part of the sentence, the rest of the sentence, in my pajamas attaches to. Does it attach to I or the elephant? There are also sentences that are ambiguous because of how the sentential connectives connect the parts of the sentence. So, Bob is happy if Lance is tall, only if Jim is fair. Well, this is ambiguous. You could read it with the only if being the main connective, and then we'd say, Bob is happy if Lance is tall. That is true only if Jim is fair. Or you could read it as, Bob is happy if Lance is tall, only if Jim is fair. Well, these are two different ways of reading the sentence, and they're both perfectly grammatically okay ways of reading the sentence, but they mean different things. So the sentence is grammatically ambiguous. So how do we resolve this? Or how do we avoid that ambiguity? We avoid it with commas. Commas can disambiguate. So suppose we put a comma after happy. We say, Bob is happy if Lance is tall, only if Jim is fair. That tells us that the main connective is the if. Why? Well, so say you have a sentence that's otherwise ambiguous. It would be, without a comma, it would be ambiguous. Then what we know is that the main connective of the sentence, depending upon which of the connectives you choose, the sentence will break in different places, and the main connective is the one that ever makes the one which makes the sentence break where the comma is. And that's usually going to be the one right next to the comma. But the point is, the comma, you know, that's where choose the main connective so that it breaks at the position of the comma. At least do that if the sentence is otherwise ambiguous. If it would be ambiguous without the comma, then you know that it breaks at the comma. Not all commas are into there are commas that we don't have because of disambiguation. Like if I say, if Bob runs, then Bill jumps, there's a comma after runs and before then, and there's no disambiguation going on there. That comma is there for other reasons. So commas do things besides disambiguate, but when a sentence would be ambiguous without the comma, then the main connective of the sentence is whatever makes the sentence break wherever the comma is placed. So that's the comma convention. We now have an are not convention also. So suppose we say Bob isn't happy if he is tall. Well, one natural way to hear this sentence is as saying, if Bob is tall, he is unhappy. So we're saying Bob's tallness, that's sufficient for his unhappiness. But there's another way of hearing this sentence. It's not the case that if Bob is tall, he is happy. And this says, is Bob's tallness sufficient for his happiness? No. But it doesn't mean Bob's tallness is sufficient for his unhappiness either. So what's going on here, the question is that not, so we have isn't, and that's short for is not. And the question is, what is the not hooking onto? Is it not happy? Or is it, we're saying Bob is a certain way. And what way? Well, it could be he's not happy, or maybe it's hooking onto the whole sentence, the whole entirety of the rest of the sentence. So what is he like? He's not happy if he's tall. Not happy, but not happy if he's tall. Well, so it's at least arguable you could hear this sentence in both ways. So we're always going to read sentences like this in the first way. So we'll say that when you have a not that's hooked onto a verb, like here the not is hooked onto is, then the negation applies just to the sentence whose the atomic sentence in which that verb figures. So here we ask, what does there's a not, it's hooked onto an is. Well, that is the verb of the atomic sentence, Bob is happy, and so the not attaches just to that sentence and nothing bigger. So when you have a not on a verb, it attaches just to that atomic sentence, which that verb is the verb of, and nothing more. So those are our conventions. So let's see these conventions in action. So here we are in the logic module, in the symbolization module in the logic program, and we're going to select another problem. One thing to note about the selection list, you can choose, of course, with the mouse, and you can also move up and down with the arrows, but you can also enter in the number of the problem. So we want to go to problem 1.011, so we type 1.011, and we get to 111. So we have the sentence, if Alfred will pass if he concentrates, then logic is enjoyable. And note there's a comma in here. This comma is required to make this sentence unambiguous. Without the comma, we could read this sentence in two ways. We could read it as, if Alfred will pass what? Then this, if he concentrates, then logic is enjoyable. Or we could read it like this, if this whole thing, Alfred will pass if he concentrates, then this, logic is enjoyable. So without this comma, the sentence is ambiguous. But if we put in a comma here, as the sentence is, then we remove the ambiguity. So we know the main connective is going to be a conditional. The question is which one. So let's put in that it's a conditional. And we use that, if we look at the drop-down menu and we go to control, the conditional, it tells us that the hotkey is Control-Shift-C. So we know that this sentence should be broken into pieces here. And so that means that that is going to be the antecedent, what occurs between the if and the comma. So we'll copy that and put that in the antecedent. And we'll take logic is enjoyable and put that in the consequent. Logic is enjoyable is R. And we're done with this side of the symbolization. We come over here, we have Alfred will pass if he concentrates. Well, okay, obviously that's the main connective, so it's going to be another conditional. And, well, what's the antecedent? Is it Alfred will pass? That's on the left, after all. But left to right order doesn't always tell us antecedent consequent order. It's always the if, always flags the consequent. Whatever if is attached to, that's the consequent, so we put that he concentrates there, and Alfred will pass goes here. This is atomic for Alfred concentrates, we say Q. And this is atomic for Alfred will pass P. We check it, and it's correct. I'd like to point out one thing I've done here. So here we have this whole sentence, if Alfred will pass if he concentrates, and logic is enjoyable. Now if we look what's in the text boxes, we have Alfred will pass if he concentrates, so that's this part. And we have logic is enjoyable, that's this part. Well, so where has that if and that then gone? The answer is they've turned into this conditional right here, the one right below the then. And again, over here, we have Alfred will pass if he concentrates. This if, that turned into this arrow. So what we're really doing when we do these symbolize using these trees is we're symbolizing in a piecemeal, or piece by piece. We find the main connective, we symbolize that, and the rest of the English moves down. We find the main connective of the next part, we symbolize that, and the rest of the English moves down. So always as you move down in these text boxes, you want to remember you're not the whole thing in the text box because you've symbolized it already with your new conditional or your new negation, and you only put down the parts that have not been symbolized. Okay, let's look at one more problem. 1.014. Only if Alfred concentrates will he pass, provided lectures are exciting. Okay, so this is a little tricky. We have two pieces of logical vocabulary. We have this only if, and we have the provided that. And we have to, so pretty clearly this is going to be the break. But we have to figure out, well, so then, and we want to know which is the main connective. Is it the only if, or is it the provided? Well, the question is where would it break? Excuse me, which of these main connections would break here if they were the main connective? Well, provided that will do it, right? If we say provided that is the main connective, then that would be the antecedent, and that would be the consequent. What about only if? Only if Alfred concentrates will he pass, then comma. Well, no, only if is hooked on only to Alfred concentrates, and not the entire, not all of that. Remember, only if hooks onto a sentence, and what it hooks onto is the consequent. So if only if were the main connective, so only if only goes out to there, right? It doesn't include this whole thing, because that's not a sentence. So if only would be the main connective, we would have to have a comma here, and then other stuff would happen over here. But as it is, provided that has to be the main connective, because it's what makes the sentence break there. Only if cannot have a break here. Because only if hooks on only to that and does not leave us with another sentence. So we'll say again, this is a conditional, provided that is a synonym if, and it hooks on the lectures are exciting, so the lectures are exciting goes here. That's atomic, X. Only if Alfred concentrates will he pass goes here. Remember that provided that is turned into this conditional. So only if Alfred concentrates will he pass. That's going to break right here. So it's another conditional. The only if hooks onto this part. So does Alfred concentrates go here, or does it go here? Well, what does only if flag? Or is left to right order? What matters? Is it left to right order? Okay, we have an only if on the left, so Alfred goes there. Alfred concentrates goes there. In fact, no, that's incorrect. Only if flags the consequent. So what only if is attached to goes in the consequent. Alfred concentrates is going to consequent. T. Will he pass? Well, that's really Alfred will pass, and that's a P. So if we check it, that's correct. Okay, so thank you for watching. In the last lecture in this unit, I will discuss a little bit more about working with grammatically complex sentences, as this last one was.